Okay, so here goes. I have always wanted to do a basic tutorial on how to tie a Kenya style turban with starch, not the everyday style. So this is a starched Kenya style turban. So a few basics. I have my turban here, which has been prepared with starch and folded into the correct widths. So that's there. I have some extra starch in a bowl, which I will use during the tying of my turban. Piece of paper for the last piece of my turban. One small pin, which will be needed. Calcimeter, or any slim object that you can use to help shape your turban. This one's a knitting needle, it's been through the rounds a bit. Last but not least, a mirror. You're going to need a mirror to check the profile and everything as you are doing your turban. The back of your turban and the top, etc., is just as much importance as the front of your turban. I see many people when they've tied their turbans and from the front they look great, but as the folds form towards the back of the turban, it kind of looks like a mess. So you do need a mirror, you need to check as you're going on. So the first thing I've done is I've tied my hair up into a top knot, as you can see. I've just held mine there with a band, which I will remove later on. So the first thing to do is to get the side of your turban that you are going to start with. As you can see, I have folded it so it's slightly inset. So that will be the last piece of my turban. So I need to find the other end. So this is the first part of the turban. You have your open fold at the bottom, not at the top of your turban. So always keep the open fold, as you can see, to the bottom. We're going to put it in your mouth and you go around the left hand side of your body. I'm just going to keep adjusting this whole camera. Camera's stuck on with gaffer tape. Okay, so we're going to put this into the mouth. This will eventually form the back piece of your turban, so try not to get it too wet and messy, because you do need this bit just to look as neat and tidy as every other part of your turban. So you put it in your mouth and you go around the left hand side of your face, round the back, and the first piece we're going to form here. Now this first piece is very important because it's going to form the shape that you want for your finished product. And in order to get the symmetry right, this shape will determine where you finish on the other side. So it takes a couple of attempts, but here we go. In here, round the back, over the top, and now position. So we will position. So that's the position of the first, what we call lar, or fold, or wrap even. Take the next piece, hold it out, and bring this over. Now this next piece is also important, and I'll tell you why once I've placed it. Okay, reason why I'll tell you why, this piece is important because of this distance. That distance now needs to remain the same on all your next wraps as you go around. And essentially what we are doing is we are lowering this side and hiring this side of the turban. So we go along at an equal drop on this side and an equal rise on this side. As we go around here, my son has just walked in.
Papa,
Anji Babu?
why are you talking to someone?
I'm not, I'm filming myself. I'm teaching people how to tie a pagh. So every so often, take the mirror and check the distances on the side. You need to ensure that the folds are the same on the front and the back. Okay, so this is what we do. So Angie?
Can I have popcorn?
Yeah, go on. So once again, try and get your folds, your drop, and your rise equidistant. This is the key behind Kenyan turban. You can start to see that the distances are exactly the same. Don't try and pull your turban in too low at the back, and every so often just keep checking that the distances also at the back are good. Now, every so often you can lift the turban away. So sometimes I just lift, and that takes the pressure off the ears. Sometimes with starched turbans, you can get a bit of discomfort around the ear area, and that's because we've just tied it too tight. You can release that pressure, so that's what I sometimes do, just release that pressure from the ear. Keep it less tight as you're going over the ear. And once again, we're into that last fold, so we're into the last stage now of the turban. So this is the finished product end. Finished product end, I like to just widen that last wrap. I just check that I have the correct distances. I also check around the back, make sure that I've got no sags, that I have no awkward folds. I'm happy with that. Then what I do is I decide where it's coming down here, and the first I just do a test. I'll do a test to where I want to go. Now, this is where you need your symmetry. That has to be exactly the same angle as that. So for all you anal retentive people like myself here, this is the bit where you can go to town. So that's my finished turban. Now, I'm slightly dissatisfied with the width of the last piece, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it back around, and just using my fingers, just going to slightly widen the last piece of the turban until, keep this all very light, until I'm satisfied that I've got the width that I desire in my last piece. And that's starting to feel a bit more comfortable. So I'm happy with that. I'm just going to run my fingers along the top to set the crease in there. But also, here I will insert a piece of paper. Now this paper will give my last fold, or my last wrap, or my last lar as we call it. It will just give it that crisp edge. Now, this bit, your last bit takes patience. Now, depending on your pagh style, some people tuck this in here. What I actually do, the way that I tie my turban, slightly different, slight variation on the Kenyan style. I take it to the back, and using the pin, I just very slowly slide the pin into the back. Right, that's my turban now held in position. Can take this piece out, the starting piece. I can take this out. What I do is immediately just pull it straight, neaten everything up. So we now have turban in position. It feels slightly tight here. And that's because as I've pulled the last lar and wrap around, I've pulled it a bit too tight. Now, if it's tight now, it will be tight when it dries. So you just need to release some of that pressure. At the moment, it may look slightly low. That's fine. We will, as we adjust. I don't like low turbans over the front. I don't like them too much resting near my eyebrows. So we will look to raise that up a bit. So this is where the work starts. So just want to check that everything's fine. I'm happy with this, happy with the folds back here. It's about the neatness here. So what we're going to do is, with this piece, right, as you can see here, we are going to fold this piece over. And this is the important fold. You get one chance at this, because once you put the crease into the paper, that's where we're at. So next time I'll get a better fold holder. So trying to take the point from here to here. It's never that easy. Yes, we have a cat as well. Never that easy. Just try a little fold. How does that look? Feels right. Yes. Just one moment. Don't worry. That was a cat and I didn't strangle her. I just took her out of the room. So, trying to establish the point. All I've done is started to fold the last piece over, but what I want to do is before I set it in place, I want to check the width. From a Kenyan point of view, this is what we do. We check this width, that we have that similar width. Now, some people, if they want a more progressive point, or a junge as we call it, if they want a more progressive junge, they will fold this as such. They will fold this last piece as such that it will give them a more progressive point. I like my junge, but I like my point, but I like to keep it quite equidistant. So I'm just going to finish this off. You can see here, I will start to fold this equally across here. So this is just a gentle tuck in. So fold over, gently tuck in. Now, keeping it soft and gentle, can use from time to time your trusty salai or your trusty knitting needle to just help tuck that piece in. Right, so I think that's comfortable for myself. I'm going to do one last check. I'm comfortable with this piece. I'm comfortable with the fold in here. The important thing is, when people fold this piece in, is not to have fold creases. And that's when you've got the turban material underneath wrapping around itself. It makes the back end of your turban look scruffy. And to be honest, it's not really acceptable. So, we now have very close to a finished product. Top is not covered yet. I'm going to show you how we do that. The sides look fine to me. Central point, slightly moved a bit, but we can adjust that. Center point. This is where people like to say my pagh is on point. I've still got a bit of tightness around this last line, but I think I can live with that. Okay, we're nearly there. Now, this piece that was in the mouth, if you remember, this was the first piece on the wrap that came over. So it's the most top piece of your turban. So what I'm going to do is move this around the back here. Move this around the back here, lay it down, and then I'm going to grab it because it was the first piece and I'm going to pull it up here. So there we go. That is now at the top. Now I tie my hair up. I'm going to take my band out and then I'm going to flatten my hair a bit. So my top knot, just going to flatten a bit. And then the folded strip of the turban, I'm literally going to unfold over the top. So all I'm doing is I'm just unfolding it. Right? So this bit requires a little bit of patience. So start with one side first. If you try and do both sides, you'll find yourself in a real tease. One side, just neatly tuck it in, and then once you've got the position on one side, keeping that in place, tuck the back in. So all I'm doing, don't try and get it perfect in the first bit, try and get it comfortable. And then what we do is, I hold it, and then pull that piece back down. Don't overly pull it, because you'll send your top of your turban into lots of... It will just pull it too tight, so the next time you put your turban on, after it has dried and you've done your top knot again, it's not going to sit comfortably. Okay. So, mirror time. We use the mirror to check the top of the turban. As you can see, I've got quite a lot of hair, etc. coming out there. So what I will do is I will use my trusty saline now and just start tucking things in. Can be a bit fiddly, arms can start aching, etc. But key is take it easy, go slow. Never rush a good pagh, as I say. Okay. Now what you will find yourself pulling from one side, tucking in, and it will come out from the other side, and you will find yourself in a position where it all just does sit right. So I've got a bit of playing around to do here. Got a bit of playing around to do here. As you can see, I've still got some uncovered. So it's starting to now look neat and covered. I've got a bit of a funny crease bit here, but I think once this is in, see, if I pull this side, you can see it coming in. So I'm going to hold this there and I'm going to tuck this piece in here. There we go. Right. Now, this piece now, just one gentle adjustment, fold it back in, and then we need to find some space for it there. So, this is probably the most fiddly part, or I find the most fiddly part. You need to create a nice space here for this piece to tuck into. You don't want to rush it. Now, I think I might be ready to tuck and complete. There's a few things that I do. One last check. That's good on top. Now I want to do is tuck this piece in. I want to fold it like this. I'm going to fold it in here and it will find a home in there. I'm still getting a bit of, but before we do that, I'm still finding a bit of resistance. There's not enough space on this side, so I'm going to create that space. Right, before I tuck it in, starch. I'm going to take a piece, bit gooey, and just put it on the back. Just put it on the back because that's the piece. Right. Before we do a tuck, take the starch, put it on the hand, and literally just fold it into the turban, and it just smooths everything out like this. Ever so gently. Don't put on too much. I have a tendency to put on too much. And then that last piece, once again, following the shape of the turban, I've folded it up, following the shape of the turban, and I found a nice place for it to fold into. Now, I pinch this here, and then I pinch it into the line here. So once again, this line is extremely important. This line, for me, there needs to be no differentiation, no pulling, and I just need to check that I am fine with that. In terms of this piece, that line now has continued with no awkward creases in, right over the fold at the back. Next piece, how does this side look? Some bulges here, you can see some bulges here. So all we do is just do a gentle tuck. It will dry, because obviously this is a starched turban. It will dry. There's a bit here that I can tuck in, so just ever so gently, I will go here, and I'm just gently just tucking that last top piece in. Not overly tucking it, as I said. Now, a bit of pinching, get that last piece looking absolutely sharp. If there are any overfolds here or pieces that are sticking out, I sometimes tuck those in, but I kind of wait maybe half an hour while the turban's drying. And then just a bit of lifting, a bit of eyebrow stretching, just gently lift it into position. Like I said, I don't like my turban too low down on my forehead. Everybody's different. So in order to just lift it, and it will lift as it dries. Yeah, I just do a bit of this, just gently lift it off. Now, one last thing, I just run my needle or my calcimeter or salaya or whatever we want to call it. Just run it round just to give myself a bit of space. Got no folds in, and I believe there we have a finished starched Kenyan turban. I'll just check around the back. Comfortable with that. Comfortable with the finish there. I'm comfortable with the finish on this side. That's Kenyan style turban done. I'm not going to get into the debate of whether a starched turban is a real turban. So for those of you who don't know, this turban will dry, and when it dries, at the end of the day, I will be able to take it off, and then I will be able to just put the turban back on. There are lots of debates about whether that's a right turban or not, or whether it's what we should do as Sikhs. I'm not here to get into that debate or discussion. It's what we used to do in Kenya back in the days. I'm very proud of my Kenyan heritage and my parents' Kenyan heritage, and it's part of who I am. So, Kenya turban tutorial number 1. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks a lot.